Hey everyone, so another year of great music has come and gone, and I thought rather than the typical Instagram stories that I do, I thought I'd up the production value this year and do a little video um, of my top 10 albums of the year. A couple ground rules before moving forward. I have a list written out, but what I'm going to say is not scripted because I thought it would just be a lot easier to go off the dome. I thought if I tried to write everything out, it would just be never ending. So that's that. And the other thing is, the list is just for fun, you know. I'm sure if you asked me this same question in a week, it would be a completely different list, but this is how I'm feeling now, today, at this very moment. So yeah, let's move in. Move forward, I should say. I have a few honorable mentions. I have 6 honorable mentions because I am unable to just narrow things down to 10. So I'm going to start with James Blake playing Robots in Heaven. This is just a really solid, personal, intimate electronic album. It's lower on this list or in honorable mentions because I liked the singles quite a lot more than the album as a whole. The song Loading off this album might be my favorite song of the entire year. It had a chokehold on me for like 3 months. Next on honorable mentions is The Japanese House. In the End, It Always Does. I have a bit of recency bias on this one because I only heard it a couple months ago. But it's just a really solid, peaceful, alternative kind of, maybe alternative rock, pop album. Very soothing, very kind of telling you everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry. You can persevere past whatever you have to persevere past. If you love any of that kind of sad girl, sad boy, soothing alternative, this one's for you. On a different note, another honorable mention is Phantasma by Codeem, I think is how you say it. This is a very small producer that I discovered this year. But they make this really great kind of early 2010s electro revival music. So if you love Crystal Castles and that sort of harsh electro where the melodies are all insanely reverbed out and the drums are just blown out and it's just like pretty intense but melody driven, you'll like this. It takes a lot of inspiration from Crystal Castles, but I still think there's a lot of originality happening here, and I'm excited to see what this person does next. On another honorable mention, we have the Extra Life EP by Crushed. This is a new act that I think this is their first project, and this is probably my favorite shoegaze release of the year. It's just super solid, super catchy shoegaze that just is pretty hard to go wrong with, to be honest. It's one of those EPs where the more you listen, the more you just get obsessed with it. Really solid. Moving on, we have Hozier's new album, Unreal Unearth. This is an album that has some of Hozier's best written songs ever, period. The only reason I don't have it in the top 10 is because I think it's a little bit bloated. I think if this was a 40-minute album rather than an hour-long album, this could be my album of the year. Like, truly, it's... Some of the tracks are just so good, but I think he should have trimmed the fat, and I think he should have, gotten a second opinion on some of the sequencing, because it doesn't flow very well. But with that being said, truly there are some 10 out of 10 songs, without a doubt, on this album. Check it out if you haven't. Finally, on the honorable mentions is Skrillex's new album, Quest for Fire. If you know me in real life, you know I've been a Skrillex fan forever. And this is just a great electronic album. It shows that he still knows how to follow a decent, follow kind of a where the sound is going, but also put a lot of his originality on it and a lot of just his production. I don't know how else to describe that. It's just really great. Some of the best dance tracks of the year, without a doubt. Xena is just a fucking banger. Yeah, check it out. It kind of suffers the same way Hosier does, where it's a little bit bloated, and that's why I'm not putting it on the top 10. But still, super, super solid dance track. Shows that he still is at the forefront of things, even freaking like a decade after initially blowing up. Gonna move into the top 10. Gonna grab a glass of water real quick to lots of talking here, you know. But number 10 is going to be Quaranta by Danny Brown. I've been a Danny Brown fan for quite a while, and I thought this was just another super solid project out of him. I love that he's still staying pretty original, and I like the fact that he's not afraid to kind of get a little more vulnerable on this album and a little more kind of open about his struggles. And not that he hasn't done that in the past, but it just seems like he's really good at mining his soul and understanding where he is at this time in his life. And you know, when you listen to an album like this, you kind of gain a really interesting perspective that you wouldn't have thought of. Some super, super solid beats, great bars as always from Danny, and like a lot to chew on, to be honest, even though it's just like you know, pretty solo endeavor. He gives you a lot to think about, and proves once again that he's like one of the smarter, more calculated rappers in the underground right now. Speaking of the underground rap scene, number 9 is going to be Scaring the Hoes by JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown. If you know me well and you know my music taste, you might be surprised that this isn't higher or even top 3. But it's still a really, really, really good album. You just can't compare the beats that JPEG Mafia cooks up to anyone in the game right now. Like, he's truly one of a kind, and this is the most just off the wall, bombastic, no fucks given fucking album. I don't know how else to describe it. These guys know how to make you laugh, but they also know how to just put you in like this crazy, insane person headspace, and it's just a blast to listen to. There is so many moments in this album where you go, how the hell did they flip this sample? Like, why is this working? It shouldn't be working. When you have like NFL samples and shit. Yeah, it's just a blast. I don't know. Always excited to see where these guys go. Yeah. Number 8 is going to be Kevin Abstract, Blanket. I think Kevin Abstract took quite a leap of faith in this album, and for the most part he stuck the landing, I think. He's proving that he's still quite talented on his own without Brockhampton, and that he has the ability to just go wherever he wants to go. He's not constrained to just being a rapper or just being a pop artist. He's jumping full face first into this kind of alternative indie rock sound, and it's working. Like, it's just a really solid, emotional but also super catchy alternative album. The more you listen to this thing, the more you'll like it. I think my first listen I thought, oh, this is like pretty good, this is okay, but it like genuinely each listen slowly goes up, and now it's like, yeah, like I said, my 8th favorite album of the year. It's really, really solid. If you like anything that Kevin's put out, I think you'll like it. But also, if you're more of a alternative indie-leaning listener, also check this out for sure. Number 7, we're going with a bit of a cheat here because the original version of this album came out in 2022, but then there's an expanded edition that came out this year, and it has all the best songs on the album on it, so that's why I'm putting it here. This is Stick Season, We'll All Be Here Forever by Noah Kahan. Yeah, guys, I took the Noah Kahan pill this year, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I don't know. It's just such a personal album. It's really relatable in a way, but singular in terms of like this is coming from, a storyteller. Yeah, and it's just catchy. It's just so impossible to get these songs out of your head when you listen to this album. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Noah Kahan knows how to write some fucking hits, guys, and I'm kind of confused why he has. I guess that's just kind of a product of blowing up, but he seems to have so many critics now, and people seem to criticize his music for being kind of on the nose or surface level, but I really don't agree with that at all. I think, of course, there are, parts and choruses where you can go, oh, okay, I know what he's talking about here, but I think when you really dive in, there's just a wealth of things to think about and a wealth of nuance to his songs. Yeah, guys, check this out if you're a folk fan at all. Don't listen to the haters. Don't think that you're above listening to a popular folk album because this is just a really good folk album. I don't know. Give it a listen. Number 6 is going to be the new Paramore album, actually. This Is Why it's called. I've never been a hardcore Paramore fan by any means. I mean, I know their hits, and I like most of their hits, but I love how they're adapting their sound and not getting stuck in their ways. Yeah, it's just a really great rock album. I don't know what else to say. Liar is one of my favorite songs of the year by far. Haley still proves that she is just a terrific songwriter and has new things to talk about. I think a lot of her contemporaries in the emo punk space, or whatever you'd call this, or emo rock, really struggle once they hit a certain age of like, oh, am I gonna still keep singing about how I'm so angry at everything? Whereas Haley seems to, grow and mature, and of course she's still airing out her grievances. I mean, that's why we love Paramore, but she is coming at it from a much more, just nuanced, a new perspective, and it just sounds, the result is something that's super catchy, easily some of the catchiest rock tracks of the year, pop rock tracks, whatever you'd call it. Yeah, check it out, for sure. Number 5 is going to be my favorite electronic album of the year, or dance record of the year maybe, is Good Lies by Overmono. I didn't know about Overmono until this year, because they had a string of singles and EPs, but this is their first proper record, and it's just, everything on this record is an earworm. It's so damn catchy, and when you first listen to it, you kind of go, okay, like they're flipping some interesting samples, and it all kind of sounds the same. It's kind of like the Burial effect, at least for me. When I first listened to Burial, I was like, okay, it kind of just sounds all like garage. But then the more you listen, the more you're like, holy shit, he's doing insane things. And the same goes for Overmono. These guys know how to flip a fucking sample. Like, that just... the more you listen, the more you're like, this is bonkers. This is inconceivable that all these weird sounds somehow are merging together, because on their own, they don't seem like they could fit well and create something that's better than the sum of their parts. But together, it's just like so dialed. The production is so dialed. And this is also a great headphone listening experience because, yeah, like I said, there's just so much intricacies and nuance to some of just the different parts of the song, and you can really close your eyes and listen and hear something new if you focus. But also it's just so danceable, and it's so easy to just bob your head to and lose yourself in. Yeah, if you like dance music at all or electronic music at all, give this one a listen, give this one a spin. Doing kind of a whole 180 degree here, I'm going to jump into my favorite R&B record of the year, which is Janelle Monáe's The Age of Pleasure. I'm not the biggest R&B listener typically, and I'll be completely honest, this was the first Janelle Monáe album I've ever listened to, but this thing is a blast. I don't know, I kind of became obsessed with this in the last couple months. It's super fun, it's super kind of over the top and opulent and hedonistic, but it's also just so confident. And it's it's impossible not to feel those emotions and feel that confidence. It's very contagious when you listen to this album. I just love the kind of over the top horns, and like Janelle has this almost cockiness, but in a way that doesn't seem, maybe cockiness is the wrong word, it's just confidence at the end of the day. And I just feel great about life and myself, about everything, every time I listen to this album. I love the messaging, I love the subject matter of just like, live it up, get as crazy as you can if you have the ability to. And it's a great album of like self-love and self-image, and yeah, I don't know what else I can say that I haven't already said. It's also like a phenomenal full album listen. Like pretty much every time I'm listening to something from this something from this album, it's just the whole album, because I'll hear one song on shuffle and I'll be like, okay, let's just throw on this album. Like it's good, like 35 minutes I think, and every song kind of flows into each other, like a water slide or whatever. Yeah, man, if you like feeling good about life, listen to this album. And then number 3, also a bit of a jump, is probably my favorite rock album of the year, which is The Death of Randy Fitzsimmons by The Hives. This one is just full force rock and roll. Like, they don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? They're not trying to build some crazy high concept, high thinking project here. They're just playing great rock music and bringing crazy energy and crazy hooks and insane distortion, and the riffs are gnarly on this thing. Yeah, like half the songs on this album are like 2 minutes long, but they're just fucking balls to the wall, like super high energy, all about just going out, having a good time. And yeah, I don't know, it's like this weird escape of reality for a little bit, where they're not exactly shying away from the current day and age, but they're also just saying like, okay, like let's get away from all that bullshit noise and let's give you the real noise that is a good time, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Great rock album. Maybe the best rock album I've heard in quite a long time. I was really obsessed with this for quite a few months, and I still am. Yeah, check it out. Number 2 on the list, nearing the end, is going to be Maps by Billy Woods and Kenny Segal. This is by far my favorite rap album of the year, by far, and it was almost at my number 1 spot. Like I said, if you asked me on a different day, it might be my favorite album of the year. Yeah, like in terms of just like pure skill, rapping skill, and pure like beat making skill, this is such a great hip hop rap album. Kenny Segal's beats are so like just like inconceivable how you could have made them, and they're so like wild and crazy, but they're still kind of succinct. They're not so over the top that it's taking away from the raps at all. It complements the raps by Billy Woods. And speaking of Billy Woods, the flows and the subject matter and just everything about the bars on this are just super intriguing and interesting, and you just like want to hear more and more. He's a great storyteller, and he's so descriptive, and everything he speaks about is so vivid, and like every time I've listened to this fucking album probably 50 times this year, and every time I listen there's another bar that I hadn't heard before that I'm thinking about the next day. And this album also has just like the best mid-run of an album I think I've ever heard in my life, of just like banger after banger after banger after banger. Like some of the more intense or gritty or spooky tracks that are on this album I'm honestly obsessed with. Like Babylon by Bus, Year Zero, the other one with Danny Brown, that might be Year Zero, I can't remember. Anyways, if you like rap music, give this a listen. It's so good. So that brings us to number one. Gonna grab a glass of water just to build some hype here. Number one is gonna be Heaven is a Junkyard by Youth Lagoon. I knew about one Youth Lagoon song before this year called 17 that I heard in a movie back in the day. And I started to get maybe ads for this or something, or I was checking out his Instagram, and I was just really drawn to the aesthetic, or like the kind of vibe that he was putting off for this next album run. And when I listened to the album, I was honestly blown away. There's really a part of it feels this is such a personal project. It feels like there's a part of like Trevor's soul in this album. Honestly, like everything is so vivid. He uses imagery so well. Yet each song is its own kind of world. If you'd like any type of singer-songwriter or alternative music whatsoever, give this a listen. He's able to do so much with his piano on this record, and I don't know if I've heard a better singer-songwriter record so far in this decade. Honestly, I've been so obsessed with this, and every time I revisit it, I'm blown away. You know what I mean? I'm super excited to see what he does next. But yeah, that's the list, guys. Thanks for watching. If you made it to this end, I probably took a lot of time because I've been rambling. But if you know me, if you don't know me, still hit up the comments. I'd love to hear what I missed. What was your favorite albums of the year? If there's a take that I made in this video that you just think is absolutely stupid, let me know as well. I would love to discuss. So yeah, see you next year.